Welcome to another enlightening episode of the Tax Talk. We do this every week to help you grasp the issues pertinent to taxes and tax administration as it affects various facets of life. If you're a resident in Lagos, this show is tailor-made for you. My name is Oyinlola Sale and you are now watching the Tax Talk. Our first order of business news.
This is business news. The Lagos State government has said that tax clearance has become mandatory for housing transactions to prevent fraud and protect allottees. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Housing, Abdulhafiz Toriola, made this known in a statement issued by the Chief Public Affairs Officer of the Ministry, Adeshile Rufai, recently. Toriola said that the new requirement will prevent fraud in transferring home ownership and protect people who may have lost their home ownership document. According to him, an allottee who applies for transfer of ownership must accompany his or her application with a letter of allocation, payment receipt, and a valid means of identification to be submitted to the Office of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Housing. He said the move was to ascertain the genuineness of claims of ownership by applicant for proper transfer, which has become necessary given the increased incidence of false claims uncovered by the ministry. He noted that all housing construction and the provision of infrastructure facilities in the state were funded by taxpayers' money, adding that beneficiaries of this project must have evidence of personal income tax. And that's it on business news.
Every other week, we engage experts in various fields to help us comprehend topics that are vital to the central issue of tax. Sometimes, we speak to seasoned officers of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. Other times, we speak to certified experts outside the agency in various fields on the relevance of that field concerning the subject matter. Today, we have the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Lagos State, Temitope Hundogan, in the studio to help explain the administration of land use charge law in Lagos State. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. Let's dive right in. Can you brief us on the land use charge law and how it relates to Lagos State property owners?
The land use charge law was enacted in the year 2001 during the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And it subsumed the all property tax into one. The neighborhood improvement law, the tenement rate law, and the grant rate law all were merged together and subsumed into land use charge. And it was further amended in year 2018. The year 2001 and 2018 law were repealed in year 2020, and a new law was enacted to administer land use charge on all Lagos State properties owners. Now, as it relates to property owners, it's a charge on the land and the use to which the land is put.
And in implementing this law in Lagos State, what part does the Ministry of Finance play?
Ministry of Finance play the part of enumeration, billing, distribution, collection, and enforcement of payments of land use charge in a nutshell.
Pardon my curiosity, is the land use charge some other type of tax?
No, the land use charge is a non-tax revenue. It's a charge on land and the use it is put into.
Appreciate your clarification on that, sir. Can you give insights into how properties within Lagos State are evaluated for land use charge purposes?
Yes, we have what is known as the Blue Book. And the Blue Book valued land based on location, on the value that is attracted to that location, and it is valued on per square meter. So that is what we use in computing the land use charge. First, we assess the value of land based on the value of land in that particular location. For example, on the island, land are more expensive than on the mainland. So it is valued per square meter by the Lands Bureau. And then when we value it per square meter, and then the structure on that land, that's how we arrive at the assessed value. And based on the assessed value, we now talk of the usage. Some are used purely for commercial purposes. Some are being used by the owners alone. We call it owner-occupier. And then some are used for industrial purposes, where they manufacture products. And then some are used for residential, purely revenue generating. The owners is not living there, but he built houses and he rented it out and is generating revenue. So it is based on that, on the usage, that we put the charge rate. We have what is known as charge rate. So the rate differs. And then the charge rate multiplied by the assessed value will give us the charge, the land use charge, the bill or fee for that particular year.
Okay,
and it is computed annually.
Could you break down the meaning of charge rates for those who don't know?
For example, the charge rate, if it is being used for commercial purpose, that is purely business, it attracts a particular rate, which is about 0.394. And then if it is being used by the owner, not letting it out, that's the lowest rate, which is 0.0132. So the rate varies based on usage and so on. It graduates like that.
That's good to know. Are there any recent modifications to the land use charge law which property owners should be aware of?
Yes. The 2018 law was repealed. When it was repealed, some changes were made. The charge rates were reduced. And then in section 11, it talks about exemption. Prior to the enactment of the 2020 law, only public servants, retired public servants were exempted who are 60 years and above. But the 2020 law now allows private sector's retirees to benefit from the exemption. Now, another change is the private cemetery, profit-oriented cemeteries are now to be charged. They are to pay land use charge. And private libraries who are being used for, open for public use and are not profit-oriented are also exempted. Also, in section 27, the penalties have been reduced from 100% to 50% by the new law.
And what implications does this have for property owners?
Yes, it's reduce their exposure to liabilities. Prior to 2020 law, if you are owing 5,000, for instance, the penalty for not paying is 5,000. So that makes it 10,000. But now the penalty has been reduced. And furthermore, because of the prevailing economic situation worldwide, the global recession, Mr. Governor has magnanimously put on hold even the penalty rule. So for now, if you don't pay, it will not attract any penalty. Also, Mr. Governor had granted a further 15% discount when you pay early. And it used to be within 30 days, but now it's within a year. If you don't pay at the end of the year, you will forfeit it. But before, it used to be within 30 days. Mr. Governor have extended it out. Okay, let's leave it because of the situation of the economy of the world. So it's now, you enjoy it throughout the year. Then if you don't pay at the end of the year, then you forfeit it, and it will not attract any further penalty, unlike before.
Right now, we need to go on a quick break. Time for a short break. When we get back, we return to the subject matter with Mr. Hundogan. Be sure to keep that seat warm.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching The Tax Talk. I have here with me Mr. Temitope Hundogan, and we are talking about the administration of land use charge law in Lagos State. A few more questions, sir, before we round up on this segment. Concerning the revenue streams for the Lagos State government, such as the land use charge and taxes collected by the LRS, it seems property owners might be facing a significant financial load. Could you give insights on how property owners navigate paying both taxes to the LRS and the land use charge to your ministry?
The LRS is the primary source through the collection of personal income tax, PIT. PIT, the major and the primary source of revenue, and that's tax. Land use charge is a non-tax revenue. Is a charge on the usage of land. So they are different in connection. Land use charge, collecting PIT, withholding tax, these are taxes. And they, not all payers of personal income tax are property owners.
I see.
So it's not a load, it's just a form of charge on the land. Government have been magnanimous to combine 3 laws into one to make it a land use charge law. Because prior to that, you have to pay for neighborhood improvement, you have to pay for ground rent, and then you pay tenement rate. Tenement rate collected by local government, different level of government. Then the neighborhood improvement and ground rent collected by state. So that is when there is multiplicity of revenue collection by state government or load. But with the coming of land use charge, everything has been submerged and then combined into one, and it's lesser than what you will have paid if you have paid it individually. So the property tax, the way it was, it is structured in Lagos State, have made taxpayers to pay less, or property owners to pay less on what they will have paid if it has been collected by the 2 different tiers of government and then by the 2 different agencies responsible for collection. So land use charge, the coming of land use charge has actually reduced the load of or burden of taxation on the property owners.
You mentioned sometime last year about the adoption of a geographic information system for identifying properties in Lagos State. Is this fully operational, and what is the milestone thus far?
Well, the EGIS, when it's fully operational, is going to help in enumerating the properties, deploying technology. It's not yet fully operational, and the government is seriously working on it. So the milestone is that very soon the plane will fly, and then the enumeration from the ear, from the perception of technology will be completed very soon. The government is seriously working on that.
In your statement, you urge property owners to regularize their papers. Would that entail interactions with other agencies such as the LRS, considering the common requirements for tax clearance in dealings with the state government?
Yes, because agencies have to work together. They don't necessarily have to work in silos. They have to synergize. That's what makes processing of document to be seamless. So processing of document for properties lies basically with the Lands Bureau and not land use charge. But if there is synergy between agencies of government, and you know, if you are regularizing your paper, you have to be a taxpayer. So it's involved the LRS too and some other agencies of government. So it's in order.
To clear the air, if I own a vacant piece of land with no structures on it, am I obligated to pay land use charge?
Yes, you are. The law has made the provision of relief of 20% from the normal assessment charge or land use charge for vacant lands, and then even for it has further made further relief of 10% for vacant properties or abandoned properties.
And what penalties or consequences might property owners face for non-compliance with the land use charge law in Lagos State?
I will advise that property owners comply with the payment of land use charge. It will be in their own interest. Because if government should decide to take action, the consequences will not be palatable for them. But however, the government is magnanimous and takes its time before enforcing the full weight of the law on defaulters. Section 27, subsection 1 to 5 provide for the procedure for defaulters, which will, number one, attract penalty when you default. And just like I told you earlier on, the present Mr. Governor has been magnanimous and put on hold the penalty regime. And then if the property owner refuses to pay, the government can put the house in receivership. And then if he still refuses to pay, then the government will have no option than to put it up for sale. And then, and forfeiture by the property owner. So it will be in their own interest to pay when it is due.
We can't thank you enough, sir, for all the clarifications you made during the course of our conversation. I personally learned a lot.
Thank you very much.
The Corporate Talk segment on the Tax Talk helps us to get clarity by posing questions to the experts in the field. Today we had Mr. Temitope Hundogan, who is the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Finance, Lagos State, providing answers on the administration of land use charge law in Lagos State. Time for another break. When we get back, Tax Did It. Welcome back. Here on the Tax Talk, part of our commitment to you is to make sure you stay informed on some of the projects the Lagos State government is involved in. It's now time for Tax Did It.
You truly, really deserve a permanent site. And so this year alone, I'll be putting available a total of 5 billion that I'll be using to start the full development of the permanent site for NYSC. We will ensure that before the end of our administration, that permanent site will be available for the future coming NYSC core members. And so with all sense of responsibility, and because you've been very hardworking, each and every one of you will go home with 100,000 naira. The monies will be available into your account. Don't worry, this is how we do it in Lagos. It's just the beginning.
I'm always so excited when we get to the Tax Your Brain segment. Our correspondent is back on the street with a teaser for your brain. Let's go.
Welcome to another exciting episode on Tax Your Brain on the Tax Talk. I still remain your favorite girl, Helen Kalu.
Stamp duty.
Stamp duty.
Stamp duty.
And it's a wrap on today's episode. Join us again next time.
A quick reminder that you can follow our handles across all social media platforms and engage our posts. If you've been paying attention, you will have noticed our social media handles on the screen throughout the show. Be sure to not just follow, but like, comment, and repost our content. You just might be doing someone a world of good. My name is Oyinlola Sale, and on behalf of the entire crew of the Tax Talk and the LRS, I thank you for your company. Join me again next week on this station for another episode of the Tax Talk. For now, enjoy the rest of your day.